Hi, it's me and my purple lipstick. What do you need to know for the final exam? Well, in addition to turning in all 4 of the essays that were written throughout the semester in order to pass the class, you must also achieve at least a D on the final exam in College Comp 1. You can do this, okay? What you really have to do is prepare a little bit and then show up at the appointed time and write the best thing you can honestly out of your own head while you sit in the classroom. And I know that's hard when you previously have had like weeks to write stuff and to revise it, etc. So this is kind of truly a trial by fire. But please know that because you are under these stressful conditions, I do grade them more mercifully than perhaps I would if you had, weeks to work on these papers. So what do you need to do? If you're in class, you will get a handout from me that you can bring into the final exam. It allows you up to 50 words of preparation for the final. And you can write directly on that paper. You bring the paper in, you can have it out while you're writing to kind of use as a guide. And if you are not in class, I do have a JPEG of this document under week 16 in D2L under the content section of the class. So you could look at that. And if you want, you can just bring in a piece of notebook paper with at least 50 words. No more. I will count them. I'm petty, really. So what do you have to do? All right. Very generally, your overall topic has to do something with ownership. And I have also linked on the content page, there's a podcast, really good podcast, 99% Invisible. And the host, Rowan Mars, has such dulcet tones when he speaks. He's just so soothing. But anyhow, if you have a half an hour or whatever, I would say put that podcast on while you're folding laundry or washing dishes or going for a walk or something, because it gets your brain thinking about the concept of ownership, and it kind of like you think, what would a person ever have to say about ownership? It explores a lot of ideas, and it might kind of help launch you into coming up with your own topic. So you have to come up with a specific topic, something that you have personal lived experience with when it comes to ownership. And it could be that it's something like you saved and saved and saved and you bought your own house. You bought a very special truck. You decided that you were tired of our capitalistic system constantly pushing you to buy. And so you made a choice that you were going to go for 2 years without buying or owning anything new. So maybe the idea of minimalism, like you were like, I would like to own less in my life. And so you did a huge decluttering. So you can just think about this whole idea of what it is to own or not own. And it doesn't just have to be stuff. So there's ownership of your feelings, your actions. So there's a kind of accountability is a kind of ownership, right? So where you take responsibility is a kind of ownership. You could totally do a paper about that. Sometimes in unhealthy relationships, someone is trying to own someone else. So there's like this ownership that often happens in a bad relationships. If you just for therapy reasons need to write a little bit about that, I would be here for you. Sorry, that was really scary. So you can play around with this idea of ownership. It's very interpretable, very loose, but you need to come up with something where you have lived experience, because you have to give specific examples out of your own experience, okay? So what else do you need to know? I am asking you to write an argument essay. So with your topic, you're going to write an argument essay. You're going to probably want to go back and look at maybe the assignment sheet, maybe the argument essay that you wrote this semester in the class to remind yourself, like, how's that thing structured? That's the paper that has that monster big thesis statement. Although many people think, ... In fact, your opinion, because reason 1, reason 2, reason 3. So it's that sentence that kind of concedes that there's an opposition, then it asserts your own opinion, and then it lays out your 3 reasons that you will cover in your body paragraphs. So although many people think that home ownership is the ideal to strive for, in fact, not everyone needs to own a home, because give your reasons. Or, although my boyfriend what's my boyfriend's name? Skeezus. Although my boyfriend thought that he should own all of my time and energy when we were together, in fact, Skeezus was wrong because, and I give the reasons why I busted free from him. Okay. So that, you could do that kind of thing. So to be honest, with a big monster thesis like that, you're basically giving yourself a map for the entire paper, right? That one sentence tells you, like, what's all the stuff I'm going to hit on in this paper. You only get 50 words. 50 words go fast in terms of preparation. I personally, if I were doing this, I would write out an awesome thesis, and that would probably take 36 of my 50 words, I betcha. And that's what I would bring in to help guide me as I write my paper in class during the final exam time. I would just bring in a great thesis. Maybe I would write down a word or two of the examples that I want to use in my body paragraphs. So maybe if I'm doing something about controlling relationships, as a kind of like dysfunctional ownership, maybe I would give more examples. We got Skeezus clearly, but also maybe I'd talk a lot about like Aunt Mabel, and how these things went in her life. And then maybe there's a parent who attempts to kind of own their children, and like the helicopter parent where they're like too involved. So I could give an example of my neighbor Agamemnon. I don't want to use real names, I get busted. So I might just write down, I come in with my thesis. Let's say that's 36 of my 50 words, and I'm thinking, but I have 14 words left, and so I might just write down Aunt Mabel and Agamemnon and Skeezus, to remind myself, or here are the examples I'm going to use in my paper. When you submit your final paper, I will ask you to give me your words of preparation so I can see what you brought in with you. Some people totally forget about it or don't opt to prepare. In that case, you can give me an empty sheet of paper. Hey, if you can write a nice essay and you didn't need the preparation, more power to you. I'm increasingly horrified by my purple lipstick, by the way, just so you know. What else do you need to? Okay, so the thesis you need to have. The other thing you want to do is remember the structure of the argument essay. 6 paragraphs. Introduction. A paragraph of counter arguments where you explain the views of those who do not agree with you. You explain them fairly without sarcasm. Don't be snarky. And then you have 3 body paragraphs on your side. Each one ties back to one of the points in your thesis. Then you have a conclusion. So when you come into the final exam period, you can bring your own laptop. A lot of instructors don't let students use their own laptops because, hard to believe, but some students in the past, not you, other students in other classes have attempted to cheat by having their paper written ahead of time, and then they just pull it up and pretend and type and stuff. But here's the thing. You are honest, you are mature, you are good. Be your best self. Come on. So you can bring in your own laptop because I'm willing to come at you from a place of love and trust. And so then you're going to have 2 hours, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. to write your 6-paragraph essay, your argument, that is something that's related to the concept of ownership. However you've chosen to go with that in terms of narrowing down your topic choice, okay? When you are typing your paper, you can have next to you can have that sheet of preparation with your 50 words. You can have it right there. And that's the only thing you can have out. And you should not be looking at your phone. You should not be toggling tabs. Nope. Just have your Word document open or whatever, and just be staring at that. So be upright, honest, and prepared, and you'll do fine. There's no required word limit on this. Usually with 6 paragraphs, you're going to end up with probably a couple of pages double-spaced, in that range. For some people to be a little less, for some people to be onto a 3rd page. It just depends on how the words flow out of you. So also some folks are done within half an hour. I mean, I'm just saying sometimes it's people who didn't prepare. Seems to be a correlation. They leave at 6:30. You have the 2 hours, but I do have to cut you off at the 2-hour mark. So if it's 8 o'clock, you got to just be done with wherever you're at. Most folks seem to take within the hour, maybe a little more, hour and a half kind of range. But we'll do that. So then you want to know too, probably, that this final is worth 200 points. it's enough to swing you up or swing you down in terms of where your grade is currently standing. So if you can be prepared, have thought through, like, here's what I'm going to do, and you just come in and you just type, it'll be okay. It will. I know it's stressful to come in and have to do like the on the spot kind of writing. I know. So I keep that in mind when I'm grading. So if you give it your best effort, if you show that do you know how to write an introduction that opens with an attention getter, explains the topic, ends with the thesis statement? Do you know how to open your body paragraphs with topic sentences and transitions? And within those body paragraphs, give specific examples, real people, real stories. And do you know how to sum it all up at the end with a conclusion? These are the things we're checking, okay? So you're going to try and write sentences that are grammatically correct. You're going to pay attention to your word program if it flags any grammatical stuff. But basically, you're just showing that you know how to structure a basic academic essay, and you're ready to go on in your college career and write papers in other classes, all right? So ownership, you need to narrow it down into a topic that you can actually write about. You can bring in up to 50 words of preparation. You'll need a laptop. You can certainly use one of the colleges that's in the classroom. And you'll submit it digitally in D2L, so you don't have to print a copy and hand it to me. If you know that you want to print a copy, then you should use one of the laptops in the classroom, because remember, they're wired to the printer. Because sometimes what students do is they write it and then they want to print it, and they like to sit for 10 minutes and reread it, and then they catch a lot of little things and then they fix that stuff. So sometimes I know you need a paper copy, right? So you should be taking this very seriously, but don't panic, okay? Like, I've got the love for you. I'm rooting for you. I want you to get through, yeah? But also you need to show up and do your best. And you need to really demonstrate that you are ready to move on, and that if you take another class in college, you're going to have some idea of like, oh, that's right. I got to always I got to open with the attention getter. Always, I got to, yep. Yeah, like you have to prove that you know how to do these things, okay? And if you have extra energy left, you could pay attention to not using the word you. And sentence variation. Try not to start all your sentences in a paragraph with TH words or with the same word. And that's always good too. Okay, so I'm talking about all of this in class ahead of time before the final, but I know some of you won't be in class, so this is your instructions. Okay, bye. See you at the final.